Like a lot of teams, are you also tired of chaotic sprint planning and mid sprint blockers? That is the agenda for today's discussion. And if yes is the answer, how can we fix it? The root cause lies in the product backlog. And because of that, our sprint planning meetings will go for a toss. Our sprints also will go for a toss. The problem is with the poor quality of the product backlog. Backlog grooming is the answer to this particular issue. And what is it? We have what is a product backlog? Product backlog is a wish list of features that may or may not get into the product. The term wish list is very, very critical. Product backlog is a wish list of features that may or may not get into the product. As soon as the product owner uh, thinks that something will be good, something is going to be good for the product, he makes an entry in the product backlog. So these are not validated, these are not prioritized, these are not elaborated, these are not estimated, and the definition of done or the acceptance criteria for these things are also not defined. So we start with the very raw requirements in the product backlog. Very often what happens is these raw requirements get scheduled into the sprint planning meeting, and if the quality is very bad, the sprint planning meeting itself will fail. But if the quality is some sort of okay, then the sprint will start and the sprint will get stuck. So the root cause lies with the poor quality of the product backlog. And when we say product backlog grooming, we are talking about first thing is we have to prioritize. We cannot work on all the features in the product backlog. So we have to prioritize which are all the features those are getting into the initial uh, or upcoming sprints that should get the top prioritization. And sometimes we get epics, that means very large requirements which cannot be estimated in one shot. So they need to be decomposed further into smaller user stories. So decomposition will do it for us. And when we break a requirement into multiple smaller requirements, from the direct product backlog entries, we cannot jump into estimation because the details will be very, very low there. So we need to elaborate this product backlog entries to a user story or a use case diagram. That means it is a basis for further dialogue or discussions. So that term user story is very, very important because user story is not mentioned anywhere in the Scrum guide. But practitioners, good practitioners of Scrum, they realize that okay, this is a mandatory step. Without user stories, estimations will go for a toss, expectations will go for a toss, and the definition of done also will go for a toss. So product backlog grooming comprises of prioritization, decomposition, elaboration, estimation, and a common understanding of definition of done slash the acceptance test for the user stories. Prioritization. We during prioritization we have to put the high value, high priority items on top of the product backlog, so that they will be picked up for development in the subsequent sprints. They get top priority. Now here we have a good framework to determine these priorities. Here we have the value, here low value, high value of the feature with respect to the product. And here we have the low risk and the high risk of the feature. So here we get the quadrant one is a high value, low risk items. Those are the quick wins. The risk is very low. So these are the low hanging fruits. So maybe we can prioritize. The priority can be high for it, but the top priority must be for high value, high risk items. Those things should get priority over high value, low risk items, because high value, low risk items, we can do it anyway because the risk involved is very low. But high value, high risk items, these are the game changers. So those should get top priority first. But what I've seen is initially people go, it is better to include the high risk items, high value, high risk items. Because even if you fail on those items in the early sprints, we have a lot of recovery time. So, but if at the same time, if you don't give it high priority because it is a because of fear of failure, what will happen? We will build the product maybe after uh, a series of sprints. When we take it up, we'll realize that the architecture will not support this, or a lot of this can invite a lot of rework. So it is better to always give top priority for high value, high risk items. They should get priority, followed by high value, low risk items, and low value, low risk items. Low value, high risk items, it is better not to do it because why should we do it? They are not delivering much value. So, top priority for high value, high risk, next priority for high value, low risk. Or in a sprint, you take a mix of these two when we plan for the sprint, and low value, low risk, next priority. So this is a good framework for prioritizing the features. The one of the fundamental spirit of Scrum or Agile is fail fast, because fast failures are considered as success in Agile, because that will eliminate a lot of rework if you fail fast. Then we have to decompose some of the product backlog entries into smaller stories. As discussed earlier, we may have epics in the product backlog. We may have smaller stories. So if we come across an epic, so what is an epic? It is a very big, very large feature. Those boundaries are not, may not be very clear. Hence, it becomes difficult to estimate. So, epics need to be broken down into stories. And if those stories are big, then it is better to break those stories into smaller stories, which can be completed in 1 to 2 days. So, this is a question people ask very frequently, like, what should be the duration of completion of a particular story? How many days can a story run? The sprint is a very small thing. So, in a 30-day sprint, uh, it is better not to have a story which is running for 20 days or 25 days. And in the last minute, if that story fails, then the agility is lost. So, as far as possible, it is better to break the stories into smaller stories, which is within which can be completed within 1 to 2 or 3 days time. And the moment it is that granular, it becomes easier to write test cases for it. It becomes testable, it becomes estimatable. So if we have epics in the product backlog, those things should be further decomposed into smaller stories. That is also part of backlog grooming. Then, so epics we discussed. There's an example here. Large requirements which are not small enough to estimate are known as epics. Users, an example of an epic here, that is, users must be able to make payments. So a developer will not be able to develop it because it is too ambiguous. Now we can decompose that into smaller stories like users must be able to make payments using credit cards. Users must be able to make payments using debit cards or through Google Pay, through PayPal, or through interbank transfer. So we get smaller stories which against which we can write test cases, it becomes estimatable. So whenever we see a large requirement in a product backlog which cannot be estimated, it is that is an indication that it is an epic that must be decomposed further into smaller stories, which can be completed in 2 to 3 days' time. Then elaboration. So a decomposed the product backlog entries must be elaborated into user stories. Think of a situation where the product owner gets into a sprint planning meeting with a one liner and the team start asking questions. Unless he is a great expert, he will not be able to answer all those questions. So for many things, he may say, I'll get back to you. And the moment he'll say, I'll get back to you, the team will not be able to estimate it. That means it'll become a very chaotic sprint planning meetings. So it is better to elaborate that product backlog entry into a user story, which will provide us more details. So here is a sample user story template. You have the story ID here, story points. Once we estimate that story, the story points will come here. Then the feature description, the plain business language, the feature description will come here. As a user, I should be able to make payment through credit card kind of requirement will come here. Then we should define the acceptance criteria. What are the acceptance criteria? 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, we are talking about the acceptance tests. And then there is a section for conversations. That means during the sprint planning meeting, and even after the sprint planning meeting, people will be asking many questions about that particular feature, and answers also will be provided. Everything must be captured as conversations because the person who asked that question or answered that question may not be the person who is going to develop it. So it is better. So it is better to capture all those conversations so that the user story will carry it forward. So the person who is going to do that or volunteer to do that particular user story will know that these things also must be taken care of. Then estimation in all a majority of the agile implementations, we always go with we use playing poker for estimation. So user stories are estimated, and those estimates are known as story points, and the method to estimate is playing poker. So what happens is in a planning meeting, the user story will be read out by the product owner, and all the answer queries will be answered by the product owner. And then the development team, they are asked to give a weightage to the user story based on the Fibonacci series, starting from 0, 1 to whatever, 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. So the smaller the story, we should give, the team members are asked to give a 1, the bigger one, 2, the next bigger one, 3 kind of thing. And while doing the estimation, the team members are not allowed to talk to each other uh, because it has to be the individual estimate. And once the team members have done their own estimate, then you say show, then everybody will show their estimate and discussions will start. And discussions and debates will start. And over a period of time, within the sprint planning meeting itself, they'll converge on to one single number. And the whole process is known as playing poker based on Fibonacci sequence. I'll be coming out with a separate video on how to really do good estimation uh, for agile projects. Now, today our discussion is how can we do very useful sprint planning meeting, and how can we run smooth sprints. That is our point of discussion today. The next thing is the definition of done. That must be very, very clear. All the team members should have a common understanding of definition of done. If each person understands it in a different way, then we have a problem. If somebody thinks that it is only coding done, then we have a problem. If somebody thinks that it is only coding and testing done, there is a problem. A good definition of done is coding done, unit testing done, integration testing done, system testing done, code reviews done. Then maybe it is a good definition of done. But everybody should understand it the same way. And when somebody say it is done, nobody should work on it again. Here we have a RASI chart for product backlog grooming. It is even though the accountability and responsibility lies with the product owner, uh, it is a collective exercise. So I've created a RASI chart for product backlog grooming, uh, prioritizing the backlog items. Product owner is accountable and responsible for product backlog prioritization. Scrum Master may play a consultative role. Developers can play a consultative role. QA can play a consultative role. And other stakeholders should get information about it. What is the prioritization? And then defining the acceptance criteria for a feature. Product owner is accountable. Developers are responsible. Maybe the developers will write it and the product owner will approve it. Quality assurance is also responsible to write down the acceptance criteria at the user story level. And whoever needs to know about the acceptance criteria, that communication can go to the stakeholders, because that will help if that acceptance criteria is communicated to the all the stakeholders who are going to be present in the sprint review meeting, then they will focus only on the acceptance criteria. Otherwise, the sprint review meeting can go for a toss. Then sizing and estimation, story points. Here, the product owner should get the information about it. Scrum Master can play a consultative role. Developers are responsible and accountable for coming out with the story points for the estimation part. Sometimes QA can also participate. Then breaking down epics into stories, product owner is accountable, Scrum Master consultative role, and developers responsible. When we break epics into stories, there should not be much dependencies. So that part only the developers can really think through because the product owner may not be very technical. Then identifying technical dependencies, product owner information, Scrum Master consultative role, and the development team is responsible to identify the technical dependencies. And declaring a story ready, accountability is with the product owner and the responsibility is with the developers. Uh, QA has a consultative role. Stakeholders also can have a consultative role. This identifying technical dependencies is a very important thing because if we don't schedule stories with a lot of dependencies into the same sprint, if there is a predecessor kind of a story which must be done before doing the successor kind of a story, those things must be scrutinized uh, before the sprint planning meeting itself. Otherwise, midway through, uh, the team will get stuck because of dependency issues. So the RASI chart tells us very clearly that this product backlog grooming is not a one-man show. It is a collective exercise. All the direct stakeholders in agile teams are involved in it. Then monitoring and controlling of this product backlog grooming will help us uh, to be very proactive because we are not going to groom all the product backlog entries from start to finish and then start the sprints. So at least for the current sprint and the upcoming couple of sprints, we should have clean product backlog, which is elaborated, estimated, user stories are available, acceptance criteria is defined, maybe reviewed and ready to release kind of. So a cumulative flow chart will tell us the progression. On the y-axis, we have the work items, that is a cumulative count. And on the x-axis is the duration of the agile project in months. So the first band is the total work in product backlog. So this is just product backlog entries. And the second band here, it is the total user stories added to the backlog. So here, product backlog entries available, no user stories available. Here, the buffer user stories available with us. And here, total stories estimated. That is user story, estimation, everything is done. And here, the features, the user stories, work in progress. And here it is the work items completed. And the last one is the work items released to the users. So this gives the complete picture of the work items in an agile project. So this is a good tool which will help us to monitor and control uh, the product backlog grooming. So coming back, product backlog grooming is a continuous process. It is not the sole responsibility of the product owner, and it has elements of prioritization, decomposition, elaboration, estimation, defining the definition of done, and ready to release that part also. Collectively, we call it as backlog grooming. So it is a good investment. It is a proactive thing. It is a price of conformance. So if you spend 1 hour in product backlog grooming, I'm sure that you will be able to save 10 hours during the sprint planning meeting and the sprinting put together. So it is a 10x benefit.